I did feel like some people were trying to look like they were having more fun than me.
Ladies, we need to have a serious conversation about what's been happening behind the scenes at Sister Wives, because if the rumors swirling around production circles are true, we might be witnessing the most expensive image makeover in reality television history, and it's backfiring spectacularly. The curly-haired patriarch who once dismissed his wife's pain with the emotional intelligence of a wet paper bag is suddenly speaking in carefully measured tones. He's acknowledging hurt feelings. He's taking responsibility. Wait, what? This is the same man who once told Christine to suck it up, buttercup, when she expressed feeling neglected. Now he's sitting across from David Woolley, Christine's new husband, having what appears to be a genuine heart-to-heart conversation. Longtime viewers are doing double takes. The Sister Wives subreddit is buzzing with confusion. Facebook groups are filled with comments like, "Who is this person and what did they do with the real Kody?" Because every woman who spent years watching this man deflect blame faster than a tennis pro returns serves knows something is seriously off. Here's where it gets interesting though. The transformation didn't happen overnight. If you've been paying attention, really paying attention, you'll notice this new and improved Kody Brown has been rolling out gradually over the past 8 months. Just long enough to seem organic, just strategic enough to feel calculated. Multiple sources close to the Sister Wives production are whispering the same theory. Kody Brown has allegedly hired professional help, not therapy, though frankly that ship sailed years ago. We're talking about crisis management, public relations specialists, the kind of people who rehabilitate images for a living. And honestly, when you step back and look at the pattern, it's starting to make perfect sense. The timing is too convenient, the behavioral changes too dramatic, the strategic appearances too calculated. This isn't personal growth we're witnessing. This might just be the most expensive makeover in reality television history. But here's the million-dollar question that's keeping the Sister Wives community up at night. If Kody really did hire a PR team to clean up his reputation, why does it feel like the plan is spectacularly backfiring? Because seasoned reality TV viewers can smell manufactured redemption from a mile away, and right now the aroma is overwhelmingly artificial. The Sister Wives Insider Network moves faster than wildfire through dry brush, and by late summer, the whispers had crystallized into something more concrete. Multiple sources were independently reaching the same conclusion. Kody Brown had allegedly gone professional. Now, we're not talking about some fly-by-night reputation management outfit. According to those close to the production, this appears to be a calculated, strategic overhaul, the kind that costs serious money and requires serious commitment. Crisis management specialists don't work cheap, and they definitely don't work fast. What they do is create comprehensive rehabilitation campaigns designed to slowly shift public perception over months, not weeks. Think about it from a business perspective. Sister Wives isn't just a reality show anymore, it's a franchise. Kody Brown isn't just a husband and father, he's a brand. And that brand was becoming increasingly toxic. Social media sentiment was brutal. Fan forums were calling for his removal from the show. Even casual viewers were expressing disgust with his treatment of his wives. For any public figure facing that level of reputational damage, hiring professional help isn't unusual. It's actually standard practice in Hollywood. What makes this situation fascinating is how transparent the process appears to anyone paying attention. The timeline tells the story. Sources confirm that season 20 is still actively filming, meaning they're bringing the show up to real time. But here's what's interesting. The behavioral changes we're seeing from Kody align perfectly with when filming would have resumed after season 19 wrapped. Almost as if someone said, "We need to completely redesign how you approach this moving forward." Professional PR rehabilitation follows predictable patterns. First, you acknowledge past mistakes without admitting legal liability. Then, you demonstrate changed behavior through strategic public appearances. Finally, you create opportunities for positive press coverage. Sound familiar? The apology tour fits the first phase perfectly. The friendly interactions with David Woolley serve the second, and the mysterious appearance on Special Forces, where sources suggest he might actually come across as likable, fulfills the third objective beautifully. But here's where the theory gets even more compelling. Those same production insiders are revealing that it's not just Kody's behavior that's changed. The entire approach to storyline development has shifted. They're allegedly monitoring social media platforms, particularly Reddit, and using fan complaints as a roadmap for content creation. Fans want to see Kody genuinely apologize? Let's film an apology tour. Fans want to see how he interacts with Christine's new husband? Let's set up those meetings. Fans are curious about whether he'd ever consider adding a fourth wife? Well, what do you know? Suddenly that becomes a major storyline. It's almost like someone handed the producers a crisis management manual titled "How to Rehabilitate a Reality TV Villain in 10 Easy Steps," and step 1 appears to be giving the audience exactly what they think they want to see. Let's hop in the time machine and track this alleged transformation month by month, because the devil is absolutely in these details. According to multiple sources who've been watching this unfold behind the scenes, the Kody Brown rehabilitation project didn't start with a bang. It started with careful, methodical groundwork that any crisis management professional would recognize immediately. The timeline begins roughly 8 months ago, which coincidentally aligns perfectly with when Season 19 wrapped filming and Season 20 preparation would have begun. This isn't speculation anymore when you have production insiders confirming that filming is still actively ongoing, stretching nearly a full year just like Season 19 did. They want footage that brings the show up to real time, and apparently they want Kody looking as sympathetic as possible while they capture it. The first major shift observers noticed was the sudden end to Kody's social media silence. For years, this man had been notably absent from platforms where his ex-wives were thriving. Christine was building her independence narrative, Janelle was sharing her fitness journey, and even Mary was connecting with fans through her business ventures. Meanwhile, Kody had essentially gone dark, which made perfect sense since every public appearance seemed to generate more negative publicity. But then something changed. Sources suggest that around this time, professional guidance likely came into play. The strategic reemergence began with carefully curated appearances that seemed designed to show a softer, more reflective version of the patriarch who had spent years alienating viewers with his self-centered behavior. The apology tour represents phase 2 of what appears to be a comprehensive image rehabilitation strategy. But here's what makes it so transparently calculated. These aren't random moments of genuine remorse captured by cameras. These are structured conversations, often with specific family members, that seem designed to hit very particular talking points. The language is different, the body language is different. Even longtime production crew members have allegedly commented on how dramatically Kody's approach to filming has changed. Then came the David Woolley friendship development, which might be the most brilliant stroke of strategic positioning we've seen yet. Think about this tactically. David represents everything Kody supposedly isn't. He's stable, emotionally available, and genuinely seems to adore Christine. By positioning himself as supportive of this relationship, even friendly with David, Kody gets to borrow some of that positive energy without actually having to do the personal work. Multiple sources confirm that these interactions aren't accidental. The meetings, the conversations, the carefully documented moments of apparent growth, they're all being captured for the show. But more than that, they're being structured in ways that allow Kody to demonstrate changed behavior without having to acknowledge the full scope of his past actions. The Special Forces appearance represents perhaps the most sophisticated element of this alleged campaign. Reality competition shows offer a unique opportunity for image rehabilitation because they strip away the family drama context that makes Kody so unlikable. Instead, viewers see him in physical challenges, working with teammates, potentially showing vulnerability in ways that have nothing to do with plural marriage or abandoned wives. If sources are correct that he comes across as genuinely likable on the show, that's not an accident. It's the result of careful positioning in an environment where his worst qualities, his selfishness and emotional manipulation, are completely irrelevant to success. But perhaps the most telling element of this timeline is the mysterious sister-wife courtship storyline. After years of insisting his family was complete, suddenly Kody and Robyn are exploring adding a fourth wife? The timing is suspiciously perfect for a show that desperately needs fresh drama and a man who desperately needs proof he's still desirable, despite 3 wives leaving him. The pattern is unmistakable when you lay it all out. Chronologically, every major development over the past 8 months serves dual purposes, advancing storylines for the show while simultaneously rehabilitating Kody's public image. That level of coordination doesn't happen by accident. Meanwhile, something curious was happening in the streaming world that has Sister Wives devotees absolutely furious with TLC. Pour yourself a fresh cup of coffee, because this particular piece of the puzzle reveals just how deep the damage control efforts might actually run. Here's what allegedly went down. Loyal fans settling in for their comfort viewing sessions on HBO Max started noticing something alarming. Seasons 2 through 4 of Sister Wives had quietly vanished from the platform, not temporarily unavailable, not experiencing technical difficulties, completely gone, as if someone had taken a digital eraser to 3 entire seasons of Brown family history. Now, streaming platforms shuffle content all the time due to licensing agreements and corporate negotiations, but this particular disappearance has raised eyebrows for several reasons that go far beyond standard business practices. Season 1 remains available. Seasons 5 onward are still there, but Seasons 2, 3, and 4 created a gaping hole in the lineup that left fans scrambling for explanations. The timing feels suspiciously convenient when you consider the broader context of Kody's alleged image rehabilitation campaign. Those missing seasons contain some of the most damaging footage of the Brown patriarch at his absolute worst. Season 2 captured the family's chaotic move to Las Vegas and Kody's increasingly erratic decision-making. Season 3 documented the growing tensions between wives as Kody's favoritism toward Robyn became impossible to ignore. Season 4 showed the financial strain and emotional dysfunction that would eventually tear the family apart. In other words, the missing seasons represent a comprehensive record of exactly the kind of behavior that professional crisis managers would want scrubbed from easy public access. It's like removing the evidence from a trial where the defendant is trying to prove he's changed. Multiple sources suggest this wasn't a random corporate decision. The removal allegedly happened around the same time period when other elements of Kody's rehabilitation campaign were being implemented. That correlation doesn't prove causation, but it certainly raises questions about coordination between different aspects of damage control efforts. Fan reaction has been swift and brutal. Social media platforms are flooded with complaints from viewers who specifically subscribe to HBO Max to access the complete Sister Wives catalog. These aren't casual viewers who stumbled onto the show. These are dedicated fans who've been following the Brown family saga for over a decade and know exactly what's missing from their viewing options. One longtime viewer posted on Reddit, "I've been rewatching from the beginning to show my sister how toxic Kody's behavior has always been, and now the worst seasons are conveniently unavailable. This feels like revisionist history in real time." Another commented, "It's suspicious that the seasons showing Kody at his most manipulative are the ones that disappeared right when he's trying to rehabilitate his image." The business implications are significant too. Fans are threatening to cancel subscriptions and switch back to Discovery Plus, where TLC content has traditionally been housed. But even more telling is the pattern of complaints suggesting this isn't limited to Sister Wives. Multiple TLC shows have reportedly experienced similar mysterious content gaps on HBO Max, indicating a broader strategy at work. What makes this particularly fascinating is the psychological impact on viewers. When controversial content becomes harder to access, it creates a form of collective amnesia. New viewers joining the Sister Wives journey won't see those missing seasons unless they actively seek them out on alternative platforms. They'll miss the full scope of behaviors that made Kody so problematic in the first place. Professional reputation management often involves controlling the narrative by controlling access to information. If someone wanted to rehabilitate Kody's image, removing the seasons that most clearly document his worst behavior would be a logical first step. Make the evidence harder to find, and eventually people forget just how bad things really were. The fact that this content removal happens simultaneously with Kody's behavioral transformation and strategic storyline development feels like more than coincidence. It suggests a comprehensive approach to image rehabilitation that extends far beyond just changing how he appears on camera. It's about changing what viewers can easily access to compare against his allegedly improved behavior. Whether this represents intentional coordination or convenient timing remains unconfirmed. But for Sister Wives fans who've spent years documenting Kody's problematic patterns, the message feels clear. Someone wants those patterns to be a lot harder to reference. Now, let's pull back the curtain on what's actually happening behind the scenes, because the production insiders who've been watching this transformation unfold have some fascinating observations to share. These aren't anonymous internet rumors or third-hand gossip. These are people who work directly with the Brown family and have witnessed firsthand how dramatically things have changed over the past 8 months. Multiple sources confirm that Season 20 is still in active production, which explains why we're seeing such an extended timeline. But what's particularly interesting is how the filming approach has evolved. According to those close to the production, there's been a noticeable shift in how Kody prepares for and participates in filming sessions. Where he once showed up unpredictably and often created chaos that required extensive editing to make usable, he now allegedly arrives with what appears to be talking points and a much more structured approach to conversations. One production insider describes the change as night and day compared to how Kody behaved during earlier seasons. Previously, he was known for being his own worst enemy during filming. He'd go off on tangents that made him look terrible, refuse to follow producer guidance, and generally create more problems than storylines. The hair alone was apparently a constant source of frustration, with Kody being notoriously fussy about how it looked on camera and frequently demanding reshoots for purely vanity reasons. But sources suggest that something fundamental changed around the time Season 20 production began. Suddenly, the man who had built a reputation for being difficult to work with was showing up prepared, staying on message, and actually taking direction from producers in ways that served the show's narrative needs, rather than just his ego. This behavioral shift extends beyond just filming interactions. According to insiders, there's been a noticeable change in how storylines are being developed and structured. Where previous seasons often felt chaotic and reactive, Season 20 appears to be following a much more strategic blueprint. The topics being covered, the conversations being filmed, even the family members being featured all seem to serve specific narrative purposes rather than just documenting whatever drama naturally unfolds. The timing coordination between different story elements is particularly telling. Sources confirm that the David Woolley interactions weren't spontaneous encounters that happened to be caught on camera. They were planned, structured meetings designed to capture specific types of content that would serve the larger narrative arc of Kody's alleged redemption. Even more revealing is how the potential sister-wife storyline developed. According to production insiders, this wasn't an organic development that cameras happened to capture. The conversations between Kody and Robin about potentially adding a fourth wife were specifically structured and filmed as content designed to generate both drama and sympathy for their relationship. What's particularly fascinating is how closely the filmed content appears to align with social media sentiment analysis. Sources suggest that the production team is actively monitoring platforms like Reddit, Facebook groups, and Twitter to understand what fans are saying about the show and the family members. Then, remarkably, those fan complaints and curiosities seem to translate directly into storyline development. Fans have been demanding to see genuine accountability from Kody. Suddenly, there's an apology tour being filmed. Fans were curious about how he'd interact with Christine's new husband. Those meetings got arranged and captured. Fans wondered whether he'd ever consider expanding the family again. That becomes a major storyline exploration. This level of strategic responsiveness to audience feedback isn't necessarily unusual in reality television, but the sophistication and comprehensiveness of the approach suggests professional guidance that goes beyond standard production practices. It's almost as if someone conducted focus groups to determine exactly what type of content would be most likely to rehabilitate Kody's image while still generating compelling television. Perhaps most telling is what sources reveal about Kody's off-camera demeanor during this transformation period. While his on-camera behavior has become more measured and seemingly thoughtful, those who work with him describe someone who appears to be very consciously performing a role rather than genuinely evolving as a person. The changes feel calculated rather than authentic, professional rather than personal. This distinction matters because it speaks to the broader question of whether we're witnessing genuine growth or sophisticated image management. According to production insiders, the evidence strongly suggests the latter. The transformation appears to be strategic, comprehensive, and carefully coordinated in ways that require professional expertise to execute effectively. Here's where this alleged rehabilitation campaign gets truly sophisticated, and frankly a little unsettling. According to multiple sources close to the production, the Sister Wives team has apparently discovered the holy grail of reality television, a direct pipeline from fan complaints to manufactured storylines. It's almost like they've turned the entire Sister Wives subreddit into an unpaid focus group. The process allegedly works like this. Production teams are reportedly monitoring social media platforms with the dedication of political campaign managers tracking poll numbers. Reddit threads, Facebook group discussions, Twitter conversations, even TikTok comments are apparently being analyzed to identify recurring themes in fan criticism and curiosity. Then, remarkably, those online conversations seem to translate directly into filming priorities for upcoming episodes. Think about how unprecedented this level of audience responsiveness really is. Traditional television operates on long lead times with storylines planned months in advance. But reality television, especially a show that's been filming for nearly a year to capture real-time developments, has the flexibility to pivot based on immediate feedback. And if sources are correct, the Sister Wives production team has weaponized that flexibility in service of Kody's image rehabilitation. The evidence for this strategy is surprisingly transparent once you know what to look for. For months, Reddit users have been demanding authentic accountability from Kody for his treatment of Christine, Janelle, and Mary. They wanted to see genuine remorse, not deflection and blame shifting. Lo and behold, suddenly we have an apology tour being filmed where Kody appears to take responsibility for past mistakes. Fans have been endlessly curious about how Kody would handle Christine's happiness with David Woolley. The speculation was brutal, with most people assuming he'd be bitter, jealous, and probably make snide comments about the new relationship. But instead of letting that narrative play out naturally, production apparently arranged for Kody and David to meet and interact in ways that paint the brown patriarch in the most favorable light possible. The sister-wife speculation represents perhaps the most cynical example of this alleged strategy in action. For over a year, Reddit threads have been filled with theories about whether Kody and Robin might seek a fourth wife to replace the three who left. Most fans assumed this was wishful thinking or strategic speculation. But now, conveniently, this exact scenario becomes a major storyline that generates both drama and sympathy for Kody's position. What makes this approach so sophisticated is how it appears to anticipate criticism before it fully develops. Rather than waiting for negative storylines to play out and dealing with the backlash, the production team allegedly identifies potential problem areas through social media monitoring and then films content designed to preempt those criticisms. It's like having a crystal ball that shows you exactly what your audience wants to see, then delivering precisely that content while making it appear spontaneous and authentic. But there's something deeply manipulative about using audience feedback not to improve the show's quality, but to rehabilitate the image of someone whose behavior has been genuinely problematic. The psychological impact on viewers is particularly concerning. When fans see their specific complaints and curiosities being addressed on screen, it creates a sense of validation and engagement that feels organic. People think their voices are being heard and their concerns are being taken seriously. But if this content is being manufactured specifically to manipulate audience perception, then viewers are essentially being gaslit on a massive scale. Consider how this strategy affects the authenticity of what we're watching. If Kody's interactions with David Woolley were arranged by producers specifically because Reddit users wanted to see how he'd handle Christine's new relationship, then those interactions aren't genuine moments of growth or maturity. They're performance pieces designed to generate positive publicity. The apology tour becomes even more hollow when viewed through this lens. If Kody's expressions of remorse and accountability were filmed because social media analysis indicated that's what fans needed to see for his rehabilitation, then those apologies aren't authentic emotional breakthroughs. They're strategic content designed to check boxes on a crisis management checklist. Perhaps most troubling is how this approach turns legitimate audience concerns about Kody's behavior into marketing opportunities. Fans who've spent years documenting his emotional manipulation and neglect of his wives aren't just viewers anymore. They're unwitting consultants providing free market research on how to make their abuser more palatable to audiences. The sophistication required to execute this strategy effectively suggests professional guidance that goes far beyond standard reality television production practices. Social media sentiment analysis, strategic content development, coordinated messaging across multiple platforms, these are the tools of political campaigns and corporate crisis management, not family reality shows. Let's talk about the elephant in the room, or should we say the potential fourth wife in the family meeting? Because this particular storyline development might be the most transparent example yet of strategic content creation designed to serve multiple rehabilitation objectives simultaneously. For over a year, insiders have been whispering about Kody and Robyn allegedly exploring the possibility of adding another wife to their dramatically reduced family structure. These weren't casual rumors floating around fan forums. These were specific reports from sources close to the production, suggesting that the couple had been actively seeking a fourth sister wife, even traveling to places like Mexico and Las Vegas for what appeared to be courtship-related activities. Most longtime Sister Wives viewers initially dismissed these reports as wishful thinking or strategic misinformation. After all, this is the same man who spent years insisting that his family was complete, that 4 wives were overwhelming, and that he couldn't properly manage the relationships he already had. The idea that he'd voluntarily add complexity to an already chaotic situation seemed absurd. But now we have official confirmation that this storyline is indeed being explored on camera. Kody and Robyn are filmed having conversations about potentially dating and marrying a new sister wife. The timing of this revelation, coming precisely when Kody desperately needs proof that he's still desirable despite 3 wives leaving him, feels suspiciously calculated. From a crisis management perspective, the sister-wife gambit serves multiple strategic purposes that have nothing to do with genuine relationship building. First, it positions Kody as someone who's still attractive and viable as a husband, countering the narrative that he's an unlovable patriarch who drove away his family through neglect and emotional abuse. Second, it suggests that his remaining marriage to Robyn is strong and secure enough to consider expansion, painting their relationship in a positive light despite years of criticism about favoritism and manipulation. Most importantly, it creates sympathy for Kody by implying that he's genuinely trying to rebuild the plural marriage lifestyle that defined his identity for decades. Instead of appearing as someone who failed at managing multiple relationships, he becomes someone who's courageously attempting to restore his family structure despite significant personal losses. The strategic timing of this storyline development cannot be ignored. For months, social media has been brutal in analyzing why 3 wives chose to leave Kody. The consensus opinion was that he's emotionally unavailable, financially irresponsible, and incapable of maintaining healthy relationships with multiple partners. Having a potential new wife storyline directly challenges those criticisms by suggesting that someone new might be willing to join the family. But here's where the authenticity questions become impossible to ignore. According to sources familiar with the production process, this isn't an organic development that cameras happen to capture. The conversations between Kody and Robyn about seeking a 4th wife were specifically structured and filmed as content designed to generate both drama and sympathy. The psychological manipulation inherent in this approach is particularly concerning. If this storyline is manufactured primarily for rehabilitation purposes, then any woman who becomes involved is essentially being used as a prop in Kody's image management campaign. She becomes evidence of his desirability rather than a genuine partner in authentic relationship exploration. Even more troubling is how this storyline affects viewer perception of Kody's past behavior. By suggesting that he's actively seeking to expand his family again, the narrative implies that the problem with his previous marriages wasn't his inability to manage multiple relationships, but rather some external factor that caused the family to fracture. This reframing is particularly insidious because it shifts responsibility away from Kody's documented patterns of emotional neglect, financial irresponsibility, and manipulative behavior. Instead of acknowledging that 3 wives left because he failed to meet their needs, the sister-wife storyline suggests that he's ready and able to successfully navigate plural marriage with the right partner. The business implications of this storyline are equally strategic. Sister Wives has been struggling with declining viewership as the original family structure dissolved. Adding a potential new wife creates fresh drama, new relationship dynamics, and extended storyline possibilities that could sustain the show for additional seasons. But perhaps most cynically, the sister wife gambit allows production to have their cake and eat it too. If a 4th wife actually joins the family, they get dramatic courtship and integration storylines. If no one ultimately joins, they still get seasons of content, exploring the possibility while positioning Kody as someone who tried valiantly to rebuild his family structure. The question that sophisticated viewers are asking isn't whether this storyline will produce compelling television. It almost certainly will. The question is whether we're witnessing authentic relationship exploration or the most elaborate rating stunt in reality television history, carefully designed to rehabilitate the image of a man whose behavior drove away most of his family. When you've spent years analyzing public relations disasters and their subsequent cleanup campaigns, certain patterns become unmistakable. Professional crisis management follows a predictable playbook, and right now, Kody Brown's behavior is hitting every single checkpoint with textbook precision. The first red flag is the strategic acknowledgement of past mistakes without accepting full responsibility. Classic PR rehabilitation requires admitting enough fault to seem authentic, while avoiding language that could create legal liability or permanent reputation damage. Kody's apology tour fits this framework perfectly. He's expressing regret for mistakes and acknowledging that his wives were hurt, but he's not specifically admitting to emotional abuse, financial manipulation, or the systematic favoritism that destroyed his family. Professional crisis managers also understand that behavioral change must be demonstrated, not just declared. You can't simply announce that you've grown and expect public forgiveness. You need documented evidence of improved conduct captured in controlled environments. The David Woolley interactions serve this purpose beautifully, providing visual proof that Kody can be mature, respectful, and supportive, even when dealing with his ex-wife's new relationship. The timing coordination represents another classic crisis management technique. Real personal growth happens sporadically and unpredictably. Professional rehabilitation campaigns follow carefully planned schedules, designed to maximize positive coverage while minimizing negative attention. The fact that Kody's transformation coincided perfectly with season 20 filming and the HBO Max content removal suggests strategic planning rather than organic development. Media diversification is also standard practice in comprehensive crisis management. You don't just fix problems on one platform and hope for the best. You create positive content across multiple venues to dominate the narrative landscape. Kody's Special Forces appearance serves this purpose, allowing him to demonstrate likability in a completely different context that has nothing to do with his problematic family dynamics. Perhaps most telling is the preemptive strike strategy against anticipated criticism. Instead of waiting for negative storylines to develop and then responding defensively, professional crisis managers identify potential problems and create content that addresses those concerns before they fully materialize. The sister-wife courtship storyline perfectly exemplifies this approach, countering the narrative that Kody is undesirable by suggesting that new women might want to join his family. The language patterns also reveal professional coaching. Kody's recent interviews and on-camera conversations demonstrate notable shifts in vocabulary and messaging discipline that don't align with his historically impulsive communication style. Someone appears to have coached him on staying on message, avoiding inflammatory language, and redirecting conversations toward rehabilitation-friendly topics. Most significantly, the comprehensive nature of these changes suggests coordinated professional intervention. Amateur image rehabilitation attempts usually focus on one or two areas, while neglecting others, but Kody's alleged campaign addresses behavioral modification, strategic storyline development, historical content management, media diversification, and preemptive criticism management simultaneously. These tactics aren't inherently wrong. Public figures routinely hire crisis management professionals to handle reputation problems, and many of these strategies can be legitimate tools for facilitating genuine personal growth. The concerning element is how calculated and comprehensive the approach appears while being presented as authentic personal development. The sophistication level required to coordinate all these elements effectively suggests investment in high-level professional services that don't come cheap. crisis management specialists who can orchestrate comprehensive rehabilitation campaigns across multiple platforms, typically charge substantial fees and require long-term commitments from their clients. What makes this particularly problematic is how the alleged campaign appears designed to obscure rather than address the underlying behaviors that created Kody's reputation problems in the first place. Professional crisis management at its best helps people genuinely change while rebuilding their public image. At its worst, it becomes an elaborate shell game that makes problematic people appear reformed without requiring actual accountability or growth. Here's the thing about sophisticated audiences who've been watching reality television for over a decade. They develop remarkably sharp instincts for detecting manufactured authenticity. And right now, the Sister Wives community is demonstrating that no amount of professional crisis management can fool viewers who've spent years documenting behavioral patterns. The backlash against Kody's alleged rehabilitation campaign is swift, brutal, and surprisingly well-informed. Social media platforms are flooded with detailed analysis comparing his recent behavior to years of documented interactions with his wives. Longtime viewers aren't just rejecting his apparent transformation, they're systematically dismantling it with receipts, screenshots, and episode references that span multiple seasons. What's particularly damaging to the alleged PR effort is how transparently calculated it appears to seasoned reality television consumers. These aren't casual viewers who stumbled onto the show last season. These are people who've invested years in following the Brown family saga, and they can spot performative behavior from miles away. When someone's personality shifts as dramatically as Kody's allegedly has, without any visible catalyst for genuine growth, it raises immediate red flags. The timing alone has viewers suspicious. 3 wives leave, the show faces potential cancellation due to declining interest, and suddenly the problematic patriarch emerges as a reformed, accountable, emotionally available version of himself? The coincidence feels insulting to audiences who've watched him consistently prioritize his own needs over his family's well-being for years. Even more problematic is how the alleged rehabilitation campaign appears to misunderstand what actually bothers viewers about Kody's behavior. The crisis management approach seems focused on making him appear more likable and sympathetic, but fans aren't demanding likability. They're demanding accountability for specific actions that caused real harm to his wives and children. The apology tour, while professionally executed, rings hollow because it addresses general mistakes rather than the systematic emotional neglect, financial irresponsibility, and favoritism that drove his family apart. Viewers who've spent years watching Christine, Janelle, and Mary struggle with feeling unloved and unvalued aren't satisfied with vague expressions of regret that don't acknowledge the specific patterns of harm. The David Woolley interactions, while strategically brilliant from a PR perspective, actually highlight the problem rather than solving it. Seeing Kody demonstrate respect and emotional maturity with Christine's new husband only emphasizes how incapable he was of showing those same qualities to Christine during their marriage. Instead of proving he's changed, these interactions provide stark evidence of what his wives were missing. The sister-wife storyline represents perhaps the most tone-deaf element of the alleged campaign. After 3 wives left citing neglect and emotional unavailability, suggesting that Kody might add a 4th wife doesn't demonstrate growth or accountability. It suggests he still doesn't understand why his marriages failed or what his wives needed from him. Sophisticated viewers are also recognizing the broader pattern of manipulation inherent in using their own feedback to create content designed to rehabilitate someone whose behavior they found problematic. The revelation that social media sentiment analysis allegedly influences storyline development has left many fans feeling manipulated and gaslit. The authenticity problem extends beyond just Kody's behavior to the entire production approach. When viewers suspect that conversations are scripted, interactions are staged, and storylines are manufactured specifically for rehabilitation purposes, it undermines trust in everything they're watching. Reality television depends on audiences believing they're seeing genuine human experiences, not carefully orchestrated performance pieces. Perhaps most damaging to the alleged PR effort is how it appears to validate every criticism viewers have made about Kody's character. The calculated nature of his transformation suggests that his previous behavior wasn't the result of immaturity, stress, or poor judgment that could naturally evolve over time. Instead, it implies that he's always been capable of better behavior, but chose not to demonstrate it when it mattered most to his family. The backfire effect reveals a fundamental miscalculation in the alleged crisis management approach. Professional reputation rehabilitation works best when the underlying issues are genuinely addressed, not just cosmetically covered. Sophisticated audiences can detect the difference between authentic growth and strategic performance, and they're not accepting substitutes. So here we stand, at what might be the most critical juncture in Sister Wives history, when your audience becomes aware that they're potentially watching a carefully orchestrated image rehabilitation campaign rather than authentic family documentation. It fundamentally changes the entire viewing experience, and that shift could determine whether the show survives or becomes a cautionary tale about manipulating reality television audiences. The trust relationship between Sister Wives and its viewers has been irreparably altered. For over a decade, fans invested emotionally in the Brown family because they believed they were witnessing genuine human experiences, flawed and messy as they often were. Now, with growing awareness that storylines might be manufactured specifically to rehabilitate Kody's reputation, every interaction becomes suspect. Viewers find themselves analyzing conversations for authenticity rather than simply experiencing them as family moments. This skepticism extends beyond just Kody's behavior to the entire production approach. When audiences suspect that apology tours are scripted, family meetings are staged, and even new relationship developments are calculated for strategic purposes, it undermines the fundamental premise of reality television. People tune in to see real human drama, not professionally managed performance pieces designed to serve publicity objectives. The business implications are potentially devastating for the show's longevity. Sister Wives has already lost much of its original appeal with the departure of 3 wives and the dissolution of the plural marriage structure that defined the series. If viewers also lose faith in the authenticity of what they're watching, there's very little left to sustain audience interest beyond morbid curiosity about how far the alleged manipulation might extend. The demographic challenge is particularly concerning. The core Sister Wives audience consists largely of women who bring significant life experience to their viewing. These aren't easily manipulated consumers who accept surface-level explanations for complex behavioral changes. They're people who've navigated their own relationships, recognized manipulation tactics, and developed sophisticated understanding of human psychology through lived experience. When this audience detects what appears to be professional crisis management masquerading as personal growth, their reaction tends to be swift and unforgiving. They're not just rejecting Kody's alleged transformation, they're questioning the integrity of everyone involved in presenting it as authentic. That includes producers, network executives, and even other family members who participate in what might be strategic storyline development. The long-term consequences extend beyond just one reality show. If Sister Wives becomes known as a program that uses sophisticated manipulation tactics to rehabilitate problematic behavior while presenting it as genuine family content, it could damage viewer trust in reality television more broadly. Audiences who feel deceived by one show tend to become more skeptical consumers of similar programming. Perhaps most significantly, the alleged crisis management campaign appears to have created the opposite of its intended effect. Instead of rehabilitating Kody's reputation, it has highlighted the calculated nature of his behavior and raised questions about whether his previous actions were even more intentionally manipulative than viewers originally recognized. The show now faces an impossible choice: continue with the alleged rehabilitation storylines and risk further alienating sophisticated viewers who can detect manufactured authenticity, or pivot toward genuine accountability that might actually address the underlying issues that created Kody's reputation problems in the first place. Either path requires acknowledging that the current approach isn't working. Professional crisis management campaigns succeed when they facilitate authentic change, not when they substitute strategic performance for genuine growth. Sister Wives has allegedly chosen the latter approach, and the audience response suggests that sophisticated viewers aren't accepting the substitution. The future of Sister Wives may ultimately depend on whether the production team recognizes that their audience is too intelligent to be manipulated by even the most professionally executed rehabilitation campaign. Authentic storytelling about genuine human growth might salvage the show's credibility, but continuing to present strategic image management as personal development will likely accelerate its decline. Now I'm turning this over to you. Do you think Kody's transformation represents genuine personal growth, or are we witnessing the most elaborate PR rehabilitation campaign in reality television history? And which element of this alleged crisis management strategy has you most convinced that professional help might be involved? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Tap like if this analysis opened your eyes to something new. Hit subscribe for more behind-the-scenes reality TV deep dives. And keep those notifications on because the Sister Wives drama never sleeps. A fresh video is already queued up, and something tells me the next round of Sister Wives revelations will be even juicier than the last.